In this video, we're going to be exploring what mental fatigue is and how do you fix it. So firstly, I want to differentiate mental fatigue or fatigue of the mind from other types of fatigue or tiredness. We can also have emotional fatigue, we can have physical fatigue, we can also have environmental fatigue, where we feel fatigued and drained by the repetitiveness of the environment that we are in. The defining characteristic of mental fatigue is that our mind, our mental processing, is not functioning as it ideally would. It can sometimes feel like brain fog, like our brain is in a fog and we can't get clarity of thought. It can be experienced like our brain running more slowly, like we're struggling to find a particular word or a particular sentence, or we have to repeat or have things repeated to us multiple times. But it's particularly really a tiredness of the functioning of our mind. And sometimes what can be happening is that can be marked in comparison to other types of fatigue. So we may, for example, feel physically quite energetic, but our mind is drained, tired, and not processing information as it normally would. So what are some of the potential causes of mental fatigue? So I like to think about this from really two different perspectives. We can think about external causes, but also internal causes. So external causes may be things like prolonged focus, like that we've been focused on a particular task for a sustained period of time, and we've tired our mind in the process of doing that. Another example may be functioning in a high stress environment, that there's a lot of stimulus, a lot of pressures, a lot of demands in the environment around us. And again, that becomes a drain on our mental capacity. But we can also think about it from the perspective of internal factors. So it may be that the external environment and demands haven't really changed, or it may be they have changed, but not beyond our normal capacity to meet those demands. But because there is a depletion in capacity in some way, maybe we're suffering from overall fatigue, maybe we have a kind of acute issue that we haven't had enough short-term sleep or rest, or it may be a more chronic issue such as chronic fatigue syndrome or fibromyalgia or long COVID or ME or so on. So it's helpful to think about, is it the demand being placed upon us, or is it the supply of capacity or resource that is meeting that demand? And of course, sometimes it can be both of those factors. So if we're recognizing that we're suffering from mental fatigue, if we can identify it's the external factors, we need to do something to address those demands. It may be that we need to put some boundaries in place. It may be we need to take some more rest and some time. Now, obviously, if we're dealing with a short-term situation and it's important and we need to deal with it, then it may be that we just accept that we're going to have some mental fatigue for a while. But if this becomes an ongoing thing, there's obviously a risk that the impact is it starts to become more chronic. Now, if that's already the case, if our supply of resource to meet the demands that we have is not at the level that we need, then we need to get to the bottom of why. We need to decode our fatigue. We need to understand why our overall capacities and resources to help us meet the demands being placed upon us are not what we need them to be. Now, one of the factors that can be important in this process is making sure that our nervous system is functioning optimally. When we are dealing with ongoing pressures and stresses over a sustained period of time, there's often a shift in the functioning of our nervous system. This is what I call a maladaptive stress response. We become normalized to being in a state of ongoing stress. And if that's the case, what's happening is all of our energy and resources are going into meeting that stress, and therefore that energy and those resources are then not available for physical repair and healing. So another piece of this jigsaw can be learning to better regulate our nervous system and to come out of that maladaptive stress response. If you'd like to learn more about mental fatigue, about the causes and the things that you can do to change it, do check out my book, Decode Your Fatigue, where I will give you a map and a framework to not just decode mental fatigue, but also physical fatigue, emotional fatigue, and environmental fatigue. Do let me know in the comments what has helped you, and I hope this video has been helpful. Thank you for watching.